I'd like you to give some brief information about yourself.
Oh, my name is Fazle Abed. I'm the founder and chairperson of BRAC. BRAC is a very large organization with 100,000 staff. Most of them are in Bangladesh, but then about 11,000 staff now in 12 countries. In 5 in Africa. We are working in Tanzania, Uganda, South Sudan, and Liberia and Sierra Leone. And we are working in Haiti, and we are working in Pakistan, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, and in the Philippines. So these are the 11 countries we work outside Bangladesh. So we are an NGO, a non-governmental organization, and we work in many sectors: education, healthcare, livelihood, microfinance, banking, so that ultimately our main focus of our work is poverty alleviation.
So my first question is that I'd like to know what should be taken into account when dealing with a community's resistance to the change.
Community will sometimes resist change because they really don't understand what change is going to bring about in their lives. So they need to be convinced that what you are coming out with is good for them. So resistance is quite possible, and it happens. For example, when we started working to organize women in Bangladesh, there was a lot of resistance from men. They didn't want their women to come out and organize themselves. But then when we started organizing some women took leadership and came out, and we provided the financial services, and the families started getting some benefits out of the financial service that we provided to the women. So then gradually men's resistance went down because they saw that it was having an impact on the family's livelihood. So you have to prove by example that what you are proposing is good for the community before they will accept you. So even if initially there is a resistance, but if you go on, persist, and at least have some people convinced that you can do a small program, experimental program, to show that it is good for them. So you have to give an example of why the community should accept your program, and you have to show it that it works better for them ultimately. So there will be resistance initially, but you have to bring it down. You have to convince them that it is good for them. Otherwise, they won't let you work. What kind of example do you have? What kind of proposal you had that the community resisted? Can I ask you a question?
I'm working with the ethnic minority, and some family, they just don't want their kids, especially girls, to go to school because they want them to get married at early age, and they want them to work to support the family.
Right.
So when we try to bring education to them, they just say no. Those girls must work. They must bring home food and money. They don't want to send them.
You know what we had earlier on when I started at my schools, we told the families that your children can work and earn, but we will only take 3 hours during the day to give them an education. So you decide which hours you want to release them for work. So some families would say that all right, we'll all come together and decide which time is the best for school. So so all the families will come together and say that we will release our children between 7 and 10. So these 3 hours we won't get them to work, so they can come to school. So you have to work with the community and see what is the best hours for them to release their children, and not take away the earnings that they get from their children or the chores that they are doing in the household. So they won't accept it. So you have to make some kind of a bargain with them. So the best way, what's the best time?
A part-time school, so wasn't like a full-time school.
Yeah, it is. But you can teach them many things in these 3 hours.
In these 3 hours.
The contact hours. Usually, even if a child is there in school for about five hours, even then the number of contact hours of children and teacher is not very much. If you look at how many hours actually is being taught. So if you can get 3 hours of teaching, learning, and the teacher is connected with the children, is how many contact hours a child is getting. That matters with the teacher. We think that normally about 800 hours a year, 800 hours a year is okay. So if you have got about 250 days of classes and 3 hours a day, you are getting 750 hours primary education. So that's about right.
So at this point in my country, I guess we need to invest more technology to education, because the problem is that we did bargain with them, asking the parents that which hours
will be good for them.
Suitable for them. But the problem is that they live in very diverse area, like 2 kids here,
To
1
get
kid
there,
here,
okay.
3 kids here, and they are all like 20 kilometers away from school. They don't have
then 20 kilometers,
or other
so they
things.
can't
They
come.
have to go to school on foot, or just
They can't
stay
do
in
it.
the dormitory. So
yeah.
that's the reason why I think that in my country we need to invest more on technology, because if they cannot go to school, we can bring school to them. So
You have to do that, and you will also. So if the children are dispersed in different areas, then you have to bring them in together in a boarding school kind of situation.
But in a boarding school, then
It costs more.
It costs more, and they cannot help their family. So
Cannot
that's
help their
why-
family. So what you do, I mean, I've also seen that in Rajasthan in India, they bring in children from different villages and give them every year. They keep them in the school for 4.5 months, and then rest of the time they are with the family, helping out. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is providing some incentives for children. For example, if you give them midday meal, there will be more children coming to school. Particularly in the poor areas where there is
environment.
food is, the children are malnourished. And if you give them a midday meal while they are in school, there will be more children attending class. So that also has been seen.
I have a question.
She is not finished
Sir,
yet.
I want to know, since last year when you received the prize from WISE, how far have you gone? What have you done with the prize that was given to you?
I put the prize money into a trust fund for education. So any program of education that we do, small scale program, we usually do very large scale program. So this will be spent particularly for poor children who wants to go to university and don't have money to finance them. So this fund will finance them.
You were talking about your schools and how 3 hours or 4 hours can make a difference. So, like, what kind of subjects, what kind of curriculum do you give them, in these 3 or 4 hours of the day?
Initially, of course, when you are teaching learning in primary school, it's more or less, firstly, your mother tongue, language training. So your mother tongue teaching is a very important thing. You must be able to not only hear and say things, but to be able to write things. And the spelling has to be right and things like that. So mother tongue teaching, I understood the mother tongue teaching is the best in New Zealand. They do it very fast and very well. So I got 2 New Zealand teachers to come to Bangladesh to teach us how to teach children in their mother tongue better. So they have given us some methodology by which we can teach Bangla to our Bengali children, is our language, better, so that children in the first year can read and write essays, and they can express themselves. We don't care about whether their spelling is right or wrong, but we want them to think and express themselves in their mother tongue. So most children at the age of 5, 6, 7 can say things themselves. Can also, if you give them an essay, let's say you say that, all right, write about your mom, your mother. So each of the children would write. There's 30 children in the class. None of them would write the same thing because their relationship with their mother is different, it's unique. So they will write different essays. So that's how we are trying to get them to think and express themselves. That's important for teaching mother tongue. Then maths, how to teach maths. So we got some of the best maths teachers out of England to come and teach, come and develop the curriculum as to how to teach maths to children, to make it more enjoyable for them if children enjoy maths, then they love maths. And if you teach them wrongly, they hate maths. So there are lots of children I know in the world, they have been taught maths in a bad way, and they hate maths.
Because most of the children now, they really fear maths than English. Is it because of the technology issues about what...
You are now teaching in English, right, everybody?
Yeah.
Your mother tongue is different.
Yeah.
You've got your own mother tongue.
Yeah.
But your mother tongue teaching is not taking place there, right? You are being taught in English medium. That creates another additional problem because in Africa there are many languages among many tribes, but most of them are now coming into English or French. If you're a French-speaking country, then they teach in French. But you're learning English, I suppose. Yeah.
So last question, Mr. Hasan. So what do you see as the most challenging part in your experience?
Challenge?
The challenge part, like the most
challenging part in education?
In your experience, like in your project that you did.
There have been many challenges. I mean, I've tried, for example, in the 1980s, when I was working on child survival, the children were dying in large numbers, in the sense that the under 5 mortality rate in Bangladesh was 250 per thousand. So a quarter of our children died before their 5th birthday. So I wanted to cut that down. So I worked on oral rehydration therapy to cut down diarrheal mortality. Then I worked on respiratory tract infection, which kills children. So I worked on national programs to try and cut down mortality of children. And now, as a result of the kind of work that we have done over the last 30 years, mortality of children has come down from 250 to 46 per thousand. So we can see the results of the work that we have done in the field over the many years in cutting down mortality. The same thing is happening in Liberia and Sierra Leone. The mortality rate of mothers giving birth is very, very high. About 600 per 100,000 live births. So we need to do something about that. There is malaria and tuberculosis in Liberia and Sierra Leone. So we are working on tuberculosis control in Liberia and Sierra Leone, both, and malaria control in Sierra Leone and Liberia. And the Liberian president, when I met her, she told me that there is no pathological lab. They can't test what kind of disease you have enough. So I took some doctors and some pathologists from Bangladesh, and we have started training a number of young people as pathologists and set up labs to train people. Yeah, so there are multiplicity of needs and problem solving that needs to be done in our societies. And you will have to work on many of these things, or not just one thing.